Hello and welcome back to another episode of Notion Bonsai, and today we're going to be working on a Mugo Pine that was sent to us by Darren George from Grow Bonsai. This box just arrived at my house this morning, like 10 minutes ago, and this is a package from Darren George. I have been really excited to do this collab. I sent Darren a tree, Darren sent me a tree, which is in this box. I don't know what tree Darren has sent me to work on, but all I know that it's quite a big tree from the size of this box, although it could be a tiny tree inside this. It is a pine. Look at that. It's packaged really well. It's held in here with some wire. I'm not 100% sure on the type of pine yet. Just at a glance, it looks like a Mugo Pine. Let's get this out of here. I have to say, Darren, your choice of material is excellent. This looks like such a healthy little tree, and it's got quite a nice thick trunk on there. Let me just work on getting this out so I can show more of it. Look at that, that is such a cool looking little tree. So many candles too at this time of year. This is the box, and the variety card was hidden under here. It says Mugo. I see, that's the little card there. So I would just like to say a big massive thank you to Darren for sending us this beautiful Mugo Pine. I really hope the tree that I sent you is as enjoyable to work on as this one is going to be for me. Alright, so it is now later in the year. Today's date is the 16th of August 2023, and as you can see, all of the candles that were previously on this Mugo Pine have now opened up into needles for the summer. And today we're going to do a little bit of work with this tree to see if we can improve it on its way to becoming a really great bonsai. And now before we start, the tools that we're going to be using in this video today are some root pruning shears, branch cutters, some wire cutters, Jins pliers, a root rake or a bent fork, a root hook, or you could use a chopstick. And I'm also going to keep on hand a pair of tweezers. We are going to be repotting this tree today, but it's got quite a lot of dead to one side of it. And this could be an indication that this tree is in poor health. Hence why I would like to give this tree a repot today, just to see what condition the roots are in. But on the other hand, this tree does have an entire side of completely healthy foliage. So it may just be the case that this tree, before it was sent to me, was growing up against the wall. If you place your trees against the wall, more often than not, one half of the tree will die because that side of the tree doesn't get any light. So if you do have your trees on bonsai benches, it's a good idea to rotate them every week or every few days, just whenever you think fits, just to keep all of your tree nice and healthy. Because we're repotting today, I'm not going to work heavily on the foliage on the top. All I'm simply going to do is remove anything that's dead. In general, with Mugo Pines and most pines, you really don't want to work on the roots and the top part of the tree at the one time. Maybe you would leave it a year or two after working on one or the other before coming back and introducing more stress to the tree, because I found that pines can only take so much stress at one time. But with deciduous trees like a maple, you can just come in, bare root the tree, trim the top, and it should do quite fine so long as you do that kind of thing in spring. So I'm not going to touch any of this healthy foliage. I'm just going to cut off the dead stuff. And now to check if it's dead or not, I'm going to come in with my scissors and just score the branch a little. And if it's brown underneath, that's a sign that it's dead. I'm just going to show again here. If I cut this branch like this and it's brown underneath, that's how you know it's dead. If on the other hand, it's green under there, that branch is alive and you should probably leave it. I'm going to come in with the branch cutters and just get really close to the trunk. Any branches like this that I feel are kind of alive but more or less dead, I'm also going to get rid of. There is some green foliage on here, but it's probably going to die, so I'm going to get rid of that as well. And I think having one half of the tree dead like this may be an advantage, as this shows off more of the trunk line. So perhaps maybe in the future this could be the front angle of the bonsai. Sometimes there's things in bonsai that work to your advantage. One half of the tree dying could be a really good thing for us. This is quite healthy, I'm not going to touch that. There is one back here behind it that is starting to die, and again it's on the inside of the tree, and anything on the inside isn't getting light which means the half on here maybe was dying because of lack of light. So as you can see, all I have done is simply remove any dead needles and branches. You really want to make sure you get inside the tree and get rid of any dead needles that's sort of flaking off from the inside. And this really opens up the tree so you can see a lot more of what's going on. And already it looks a lot closer to a bonsai than it did before. And I think at this point I have two options. If I wanted to, I could come in, prune the foliage, reduce the needles down so it goes from 1 to 2, and balance the energy and vigor across the entire tree. But I'm going to stick with my plan today and work on the roots. So looking at this right away, I can see there's lots of healthy roots here, and the soil is quite loose, which is a good thing for me. It'll make the repot a lot easier. I know you may be thinking to yourself, Adam, what are you doing? It's not early spring. Why are you repotting a tree? When it comes to the Mugo Pine, it's actually quite okay to repot during the summer, so long as the tree is in good health. And you can actually also repot it in autumn. I have heard of some people repotting them in early spring, but from what I've heard from other people and various forums, it isn't advisable to repot the Mugo Pine in spring. I've heard a lot of people's trees die on them when they repot the Mugo Pine at that time of year. But again, by all means, if you have any tips and tricks for me and advice about repotting Mugo Pines and your experiences, share them with me down in the comments. I'd love to hear them. So the first thing I'm doing is just removing the top layer of soil. And my goal with this is simply to see if the tree has any good Nebari on it. From what I know, this is a grafted tree, but a very well grafted tree. You can barely see the graft here on the trunk. And what I mean by Nebari, if you're new to bonsai, the Nebari is essentially the root flare that comes out at the bottom of a tree. And with some trees, especially garden center planted trees, you might have to dig down quite a fair bit to actually reach the Nebari. I think I'm starting to get to it down here. I'm going to switch over to the chopstick. The wood's a little bit softer on the roots. So I think I have reached the Nebari. Not the prettiest Nebari, it comes up and down, but it is a Nebari nonetheless. And with pines, to get a nice radial root flare, it can take quite some time to develop, as pines generally don't like the roots being trimmed really heavy. So it could take several years of root pruning, letting it grow for like 2-3 years, root pruning it again, over and over until you develop something that you're happy with. But again, that's the beauty of bonsai. It is a patient art, and there's no harm in just taking your time with everything you do in it. So all I'm really doing is loosening up some of the soil. I'm not tearing through any roots, I'm not cutting any roots yet. And as you work on a tree, keep a spray bottle of water nearby, just to mist the roots as you work on them so they don't dry out. And again, if the roots do dry out when you're working on it, there's a good chance the roots could die, and this will really affect the health of the tree. So all I'm going to do is just rake through with a chopstick and loosen up the soil. Alright, so as you can see, I've removed quite a lot of soil off of this tree. At this point, I'm not comfortable removing any more soil than I have. With pines in general, you don't really want to remove all of the soil at one go. And this is simply because the soil in pines have a mycorrhiza fungi in it. And this fungi can sometimes look white, almost like spider webs in the soil. I can't see it here today, but it definitely is there. And this fungi helps the tree's roots stay healthy. It works in symbiosis with the roots of the tree. The tree provides nutrients to the fungus, and the fungus in turn provides nutrients back to the tree. So by removing all of the soil at once, you could remove too much of this fungi, and it might take a long time for the tree to get back to full health again. And in a worst case scenario, you could end up killing the tree. I know I have heard some people successfully bare root pines, no problem, but personally, I'm not comfortable doing it with this tree. Now we're going to do some root pruning. Just going to shave off some of the roots of this tree, not too much at once. Again, with pines, personally, I wouldn't feel comfortable removing any more than 1/3 of the roots at once. I'm just going to hold the tree like this and come along the bottom, just cut straight across. Start with a little bit. You want to make sure that your scissors that you're using is really sharp, as the cleaner the cut on the roots, the quicker they'll heal over. That's all I'm going to remove off of this root ball today. Just a little bit of the roots. As you can see, it's barely a handful compared to all the roots we got here. But by pruning the roots like this will encourage more roots to grow, more subdivisions of roots, and the tree will get healthier over time. Just going to cut off some of these surface roots here as they're not fully alive. A little bit of root refinement, making sure that's all okay. Looks good to me. Now at this point, if you wish to, you can place the tree into a beautiful bonsai pot, so long as you have a pot large enough to do so, and the tree will do quite fine. Today, I'm going to be putting this into a large plastic bonsai training pot. In general, pines do like a little bit larger pots than most deciduous trees. And as you can see, when I place this in here, this tree has got plenty of room to grow in this and get healthy again. So now I'm just going to prepare the pot with some wire. And if you're new to bonsai, we wire trees into pots just to ensure that the tree doesn't move or wobble in the pot, as any slight wobbles or movements in the pot as the tree's growing and trying to develop new roots can hinder the development of the new fine fibrous roots. So I'm just going to take some aluminium bonsai wire, measure it like this in the pot, cut that there. Now just to be on the super safe side, instead of doing just 2 pieces of wire, I want to do an extra one, maybe an extra 2 going across this way, so the tree is really stable. And now the soil mix that I'm using here today is just my standard bonsai soil mix of pumice, akadama and lava rock. I find pines quite like this free draining soil mix. So I'm just starting by putting a little layer of soil along the bottom. I'm making a little mountain in the middle. And this mound is just so that whenever we place the tree into the pot, the bottom of the root ball sits on the mound and then no air is underneath the root ball. Then I'm going to take the tree and sit it into the pot. As I place this on, I'm twisting the tree down. I'm also keeping in mind my preferred planting angle, so I have chosen this as the front of the tree. Also consider what tilt the tree is going to have when you put it in. I'm going to be okay with that. And then once you're happy with the angle the tree's at, and also the height of the tree in the pot, you can then go ahead and fill it in with soil. And then with the chopstick, you want to work the air gaps out of the soil. Just poking the chopstick in, and that gets rid of any of the air gaps. And you may have to do this quite a lot, and it may surprise you how much air gaps you can get out and how much soil goes into the pot. But you really want to keep doing it until all the air gaps are gone. And then once you have all the air pockets worked out, you can then go ahead and wire in the tree. So I'm just crossing these wires over, taking these 2 opposite wires and crossing them over. I'm just going to tighten these in with some gin pliers by pulling up and twisting. And then again on this tie, to tighten it with the gin pliers, you grab the wire, pull and twist down. And again, pull up, twist down. So you always want tension on the wire as you twist. It's super solid in the pot. I may not even need these other wires, but I'll tighten it in anyways, just for extra security. And now just for fun, I have left a few stumps on the tree to make some gins with. They may not make it into the final design, but I do want to do a few gins today, just to see if we can improve something on the tree. Again, this doesn't count as working on the top of the tree, as we are working with dead tissue. These were from branches that had previously died. So I'm just going to go around with the scissors and just sever the bottom of that. Same with this one. And I'm going to crush the branch with the gin pliers and see if we can peel any of the bark off. Alright, that's that one. It could add a little character to the tree. This part's really just for fun, and I think this branch was partially alive, just a little bit at the base. Alright, I'm happy with that. And now at this point, it may be tempting to think, oh, I pruned off so many of the roots of the tree, now I gotta prune some of the foliage to balance the energy of the tree. That way the roots doesn't have to feed so much foliage. Now this may be true with some trees, but with pines, because they have such waxy needles, they really don't need so many roots to keep them hydrated, as they don't transpire so quickly. So all these needles here will be completely fine, even though we did remove some roots of the tree. The last thing I'm going to do is put some sphagnum moss on the surface of the soil. And this will just help keep humidity levels up in the soil as the roots begin to grow. And I can remove this in about 1 month's time. I'm really happy with this. All that's left to do now is give this tree a water. And on that, I'm going to end off this video right here. If you enjoyed, please be sure to leave a like on this video. It really helps out the channel a lot with the YouTube algorithm. And please share with me your thoughts and ideas down in the comments below. I'd love to hear if you guys would do anything differently. I'm always open to new and different ideas in bonsai. A big massive thank you to Darren for sending us this Mugo Pine to work on in this video today. And of course, if you guys would like to check out the tree that I sent Darren, I'll leave a link to his video in the description of this video. If you would like to support me and the things that I do on this channel, hit the thanks button down below. And if you would like to stay updated on all the things that I do off camera, please follow me on Instagram. It's @NotionBonsai, and you'll be able to see all the things that I do on there. But on that, thank you so very much for watching.